Hello, welcome back to Oceanic Oracle. My name is Ari and today I'm going to be going through my August wrap up. First, I'm going to go through some stats that I have. I've got my computer down here, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. So in August, I read 30 books, which I'm quite proud of myself for. Of those 30 books, one was an audiobook, 24 were ebooks, 4 were physical books, and I read one mixed media, which means I listened to it and read it at the same time. Of the books that I read, 3 of those books were in the fantasy genre, 3 were in magical realism, 7 were in historical fiction, 13 were manga, 1 was contemporary, 1 was non-fiction, 1 was a thriller, and 1 was a classic. Now that that's out of the way, I'm going to go through some, I'm going to stick my star ratings up here. So 2 books were 2 stars this month. There was 1 book that was 3 stars. Most of the books were 4 stars, 16 books. And then finally I had 11 5-star reads, so it was a good month. Now that the stats are over, I guess I'm going to give you a brief rundown as to what I liked and what I didn't like about the books, because I'm like that. I'm going to be keeping everything sort of brief because there are lots of books to go through and I'm not in the mood to go on giant descriptions. So the first book I read this month was Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I gave that 4 stars. This was my audiobook. This was great. I found it really insightful. I think it was nice to read about Norse mythology. I've read a lot about Greek and Roman mythology as well as Egyptian mythology, but I hadn't really read much about Norse mythology, so that was nice. It also made me want to read more Norse myth, because I actually find it quite interesting and I want to go and seek some more stuff. So if anyone has any Norse mythology recommendations, please leave them down below. I might go pick them up. The next book that I read in August was Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. I loved this book. This was so much fun. It was a really enjoyable teen romance. So this was young adult. I really enjoyed the journey that the main character takes for self-discovery and how she learns to become more comfortable in herself. There are some things that I had there's a reason it's a 4-star, not a 5-star. I think the villains were predictable, but I think it was really important to discuss the idea of blackmail, especially for young teenagers with the social media age. I had people at school who were blackmailed by students, so it just was not great. But I think it's really important that this sort of stuff is discussed, particularly in young adult books, so people understand the implications that entail from it and the trauma that it can cause to people who are affected. I just really had a fun time reading this book, and if you haven't read it, go pick it up. It's so, it's just nice. If you want a nice contemporary young adult romance, go pick it up. The next book I read this month was Awakens by Elise Kova. I gave this book 4 stars. This is an elemental magic book series. There are 5 books in it. I've read the first one and I really, really enjoyed it. Although it was quite clear from the beginning that the main character was going to be the chosen one trope, there hasn't been someone who can use air magic in nearly 100 years, and then suddenly, oh, you turn up and you seem to have these abilities, that's very odd, that sort of thing. But it's fun. It was just very clear that the main character was going to have the special long lost magic from the very beginning. I mean, the title sort of implies stuff. But anyway, I actually really enjoyed the plot twists that actually went on in the book. And even though as I said, the magic was a bit predictable, and the story itself went in a direction that I could not have called if you told me at the beginning. I had no idea. I look forward to reading the rest of the books in the series. The next book that I read was my final play in Euripides' Electra and Other Plays, Suppliant Women. I gave that 2 stars. All the rest of the plays I've read by Euripides have been 4 or 3 stars. This one I just did not really vibe with. I know it's a really important story about Athens and the amount of wars that Athens was taking part in and the impact that it had on people. I just got bored and I just didn't really connect with it in the same way that I connected with the other plays that he'd written, so I just didn't like it as much as Euripides' other plays. That's all I can say. The next books I'm just going to talk about in a bundle. So I read volumes 38 to 50 of Fairy Tale, because those are all the ones that are available on Kindle Unlimited. It's such a fun story. I just really enjoyed it. I've talked about it in so many of my videos. Like, just go watch my back catalogue of things. I just love the whole, like, people go out adventuring and they do silly things and they end up in big battles, and it's just a fun fantasy story. I believe it's young adult. It's a fun young adult manga, and I think if you like fantasy and you like craziness, I'm sure you'd like Fairy Tale. Also, I really like the art style in it. It just really works for me. I'm able to go through them quite quickly. They're just easy to pick up and go with. The next book that I read was Faerie King. I gave this 4 stars. It's a short book that's filled with smut. I mean, there is a plot, but you're not reading it for the plot. If you like fantasy romance or paranormal romance, I guess you'll like this book. That's all I'll say. The next book that I read in the month of August was The Girls I've Been. This book was great. I read this in a day. I loved it. I really enjoyed the way that this book is sort of split. So if you can see the sort of darker grey pages, those are events that have happened in the past. So it's nice that it's sort of integrated with the modern day story. So you get backstory into the characters and what they've gone through from our main character's point of view. I really liked the main character because she had flaws. I think more YA novels are seeing that we want flawed characters. We don't want these perfect chosen one tropes as much as we used to. So it's nice seeing a book actually do that, and I enjoyed reading about how the main character had grown and learnt to be comfortable in herself. It was a really quick read and I was really intrigued and I really enjoyed it. It was a good like YA thriller, and I think if you like sort of like, I guess, spy things or like espionage books, you'll like this one. The next book that I read was Faerie King. I gave this one 2 stars. I didn't like the main male lead, and that's sort of the reason that I'm reading the book. This is for the male lead, and yeah, I just didn't vibe with him. Like, it's just another smutty romance, but I just didn't like it. I found him really annoying, actually, like really annoying, and I just didn't like it as much as the first book, so 2 stars. Then I read Uprooted by Naomi Novik, which is around here somewhere, but I cannot find it. I gave this book 4 stars. I liked the concept of this book and I really enjoyed the story. I enjoy reading about like Russian folklore as opposed to very like westernized sort of things, so it's nice to read something different. If you're interested in Russian folklore, I guess this would be a good place to start. Like, it's a standalone fantasy, so you don't have to read a series if that's what you're worried about. It's just nice and lyrical, and I think if you like fantasy romance, you'll probably like this. The next books I read were pretty much all of the Bridgertons, except the first one because I've already read that and I don't think that needs to be reread again. I read The Viscount Who Loved Me, which is a story about Anthony Bridgerton. I really like this one. It's an enemies to lovers story with the main male character, Anthony, going after the main female character's sister, younger sister actually. The main female lead wanting to get in the way, and basically she doesn't want him anywhere near her sister. And it's all about them having to spend time together, and just like, it's just really great. And that's what the second series of Bridgerton is going to be about. So if you want to know what's going to happen in the second season, pick that up. Then I read Benedict's story in An Offer from a Gentleman. This is sort of a Cinderella like retelling. There's also a time jump in here, which helps for the rest of the series, and because it's needed for the rest of them. I like this one. I gave this 4 stars instead of 4.5 stars, which I gave The Viscount Who Loved Me. But yeah, it's just a fun Cinderella story. Honestly, it's just nice, and it mostly takes place outside of London, which is a nice change from the other two. The next one is my absolute favourite of the Bridgerton series, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. This is Colin's story. In the books, Colin is my absolute favourite. He is my favourite Bridgerton brother. He's just so funny, and he's funny, he's sassy, he's just great. And when he's in the other books, he was just my favourite, so reading his story was just like top notch. In this book you find out who Lady Whistledown is, so if you're interested in that, this is the book you go to, but I would recommend you read the others first. Romancing Mr. Bridgerton is my favourite, and I'll probably be rereading it again sometime soon because I just really love it. The next book I read was To Sir Philip with Love. This is Eloise's book. This is Julia Quinn's version of an epistolary novel. So there are letters in the beginning of the chapters before like you continue on. So you see correspondence between Eloise and the main male love interest. Eloise is just really spunky and she's an interesting person to read from. So if you like epistolary novels, I'm sure you'll enjoy this one. I gave that 4 stars. I can't say much about these next few because I'm going to spoil things. When He Was Wicked is Francesca's book. It's about a Scotsman and Francesca, so that's all I can really say. It's In His Kiss is Hyacinth's book. I really love this one. There's a sort of like mystery element in here. There's lots of interactions between Lady Danbury and Hyacinth, which I live for. I love Lady Danbury. And yeah, it's just really great. And the main male love interest is actually related to Lady Danbury, but I'm not going to tell you how. So the last of the Bridgertons that I read is On the Way to the Wedding. This is Gregory's book, and this is great. Like I don't know, there's just something about them, like about the whole series, that just I really resonate with and I really enjoy reading. They're just fun historical fiction novels. There is some smut in there, but you can skip the smut scenes if you want to. There aren't very many. And yeah, I really enjoy them. I really enjoy reading historical romance, so there's that. Now on to my last 2 books. So the second to last book is Her Dragon King, which was the 3rd book in the, I guess, the like fantasy lovers series. Smutty fantasy romance, dragons and witches. Fun read. Like it's just smart. So I was getting in a bit of a slump at the end of the month. The last book I read is Song of the Forever Rains. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I read this on Kindle Unlimited, which let me listen to the audiobook as well as read the physical book, or read the book on my Kindle. It's not exactly a physical book. Another fantasy romance. I really enjoyed it. I really loved the magic system. In this book series there are 2 different worlds, and you have to cross between portals. Magic is void from one of them, or magic is dying out in one of them, whereas it's prevalent in the other, and it's just really interesting. And I really loved the characters. I really enjoyed the mission that the main female lead is sent on. The world building is absolutely great, and I'm excited to read the second one that's coming out in October sometime. Overall, just a really fun book. So those are all the books that I read in the month of August. I'm sorry for how brief the synopsises were. If you made it this far in the video, please give the video a like and subscribe if you want more bookish content, I guess. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite read of August was, because I'm interested. Also, I just want to talk about historical romances. If anyone has any more historical romance recommendations, please let me know in the comments below. I'm looking for more like, I guess, Regency romances. I've heard the name Ilona Andrews come up quite a bit, but is she actually worth reading from? If anyone's read any of her books, please let me know. Please feel free to recommend some books to me in the comments. Pretty measly physical book pile, but that's that. And this is what I get for mood reading throughout August, because turns out I really want to read stuff on my Kindle. That's the way it goes. Anyway, I will leave you. I hope you have a fantastic day or night, depending on when you're watching this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what I get up to in September. Will I read all my books on my list? Who knows? I'll see you in the next video. Bye!